Hello and good morning. So today I'm talking about sunk cost, which I have subtitled The Art of Waste, as you can see, because you can read. So this is an economic principle, and I'm going to try to give you a really simple example of how you apply it in many different aspects of your life. Let's say that you bought tickets to a Six Flags theme park. And let's pretend this is back in the 90s, because if we try to pretend that it's right now, the example doesn't make sense as much. But this really happened to some people, not me necessarily, although I had a similar experience. Uh, you bought some tickets to Six Flags, and you go to get on the interstate, and you know how interstates in different states sometimes they have this loop de loop type of system where you turn north to go south or turn west to go east. So let's say you don't have your phone GPS, you just know the directions, you know the way that you need to go, and you take a turn to go east, but you actually end up going west and you don't realize this, and you drive, say, 100 miles in the wrong direction. Now, as you're driving and you're with your family, you've driven 100 miles in the wrong direction. And at this point, once you realize that you're in the wrong direction, you may not be able to turn back around and get in the right direction and go to where you need to go within the time that you would have to make it worth your while to enjoy the time at Six Flags. However, what you find is that on the road ahead, there's some sort of local town amusement, or not amusement, attraction. And so you have a choice. You can either turn around and go 100 miles in the right direction plus the other 100 miles you need to go to get to your destination, or you can stop at this local attraction and enjoy that instead. This is either direction you go, you have an opportunity cost, and one of the costs is going to be sunk. So the question is, what do you do? And in life, you come across all sorts of situations where, because you've driven so much in one direction, you might think, well, I just have to keep going in this direction. And the example I give with the theme park is a lot easier to understand because you know that you're going in the wrong direction. But a lot of times in life, you don't know that you're going in the wrong direction. You don't know that you're putting time or money into the wrong thing. But at the time that you find out that whatever it is that you're doing isn't working, do you continue to work towards that thing because you need to complete it, because you need to get that thing done? Or do you just let it go and find a new opportunity? So I'm going to give you a couple other examples of this. So let's say that, here's an example. One time I bought tickets to a show. It was a band that I wanted to see. The tickets probably cost me about $90. I think I even bought two of them because I didn't know who I was going to bring yet, but I figured that I'd find someone to bring with me. And maybe they were $60, maybe they were $90, but in any case, these were expensive tickets. And I don't remember what happened, but on the day of the concert, something else was going on, and I had to decide, okay, do I really want to go to this concert, or do I want to do this other thing? And I don't remember what the other thing was. I just remember that I ended up not doing it and thinking to myself, that was a smart decision. I'm glad that I didn't go to the concert. And I'd already paid for the concert, but whatever the opportunity was, which astonishingly I can't remember, it was better. And I couldn't sell the tickets on Craigslist. Like, I couldn't get rid of them. I tried that day or the day before, whenever I figured out what it was that was going on, but I couldn't. And it turns out that this was the better thing. I'd already invested in something, and I could have gone and done it, but it wouldn't have worked out as well as if I had just dropped it and let it be a sunk cost. So we call it sunk cost because the cost is sunk. It's down in the ocean. It's the bottom of the river. You're not going to get it back. Another example of this would be, my wife and I had been watching this TV show, and we're halfway through the season, and I turn to her and I say, why are we watching this? And she says, well, because it's really good. And I said, well, is it though? Because season one was really good. And season 2 was really good. Season 3 was kind of mediocre, and season 4 is just plain terrible. And then we decided not to watch it. And so we left without a sense of closure, just left the show and didn't go back to watching it because the show was no longer worth watching. It was no longer worth continuing to invest in. Another example I can give is the other day, I wanted a Mountain Dew, but I didn't want the whole thing. And I am trying to lose a little bit of weight, so I'm still mostly eating and drinking and doing all the things that I'd normally do, but with a couple small tweaks here and there. And I'm trying to be a little bit more conscious and ask myself the question, like, do I really want this? And what I ended up doing was I split half a Mountain Dew with the drain. Not kidding. I drank what I wanted, and then with what was left over, I said, it's not worth the cost to me of drinking this. I got the satisfaction out of it that I wanted. I got the enjoyment out of it that I wanted. And with what's left over, to finish it would be less valuable to me than to pour it down the drain. So I just poured it down the drain. And I don't store soda in the fridge because it goes flat, and I would never drink flat soda, and then it's just wasting space in the fridge. So why even bother fooling myself? And I think I had one other example. Oh, similarly, if you're like me and you're trying to be a little more conscious of how you're eating, not finishing a meal, leaving the last couple of bites. All of these things are example of a sunk cost. If you're looking at the business opportunity type of scenario, you can invest in a new product or a new idea or a new employee, and you can find out that you spend a few $1,000s or maybe tens of $1,000s going in that direction, and that the market's changed, or there's not a good product fit, or that the idea was just bad and needs to be restarted or retweaked or whatever. All of these things fall into this category of sunk cost. And the thing that has been beneficial to me is to recognize, to label something, to say either in my head or out loud, well, that's a sunk cost. And then consider, from that point forward, do I want to continue investing in that from a fresh start? Say that, whatever the last $1,000 was, that's a sunk cost. I'm at where I'm at right now. Do I want to invest another $1,000 in this? Or do I want to invest another 10 hours in this? Another great example of this is with cars. You buy a used car. You find out that you have a problem with it. You got to take it to the repair shop. Now, depending on how great of a deal you got on the car, depending on deal, the car may be exceeding its value rather quickly in what repairs are. Do you just call the cost of the car a sunk cost, or do you say, well, if I purchase another car, it might also have problems. Purchasing another car would cost some certain amount of money. Maybe it would be better, maybe it would be worse. It's not to say that in every situation, when you recognize that something is a sunk cost, that you abandon it, but just to be able to label it and be able to say, okay, the money that, or time or energy that was spent in that is now at zero, and every extra penny or minute or effort that's put into this has to be counted from starting from scratch. Anyway, that's my thought for the morning. If you want to continue to follow these types of lifestyle tips, ideas, etc., there is a link in the description, or will be when this is posted, that is to the Health, Wealth, and Commitment, both on Facebook and on YouTube. And if you're interested in following my How to Program tutorial series, this week I'm going to be going over setting up a web server so that you can host your own web page. And we're going to step through that step by step. So even if you're at nowhere, if you watch the last video from last week and the ones that are being posted this week, you will be able to have yourself a little website for starters. So there will be a link to Beyond Code Bootcamp in the description as well. So you can follow me on either of those. I hope that you have the best morning and day ever, to quote a person who has been inspiring me recently. And with that, adios.